Well, hello everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here, and welcome to another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. This the 20th of November, 2019, and the week after Sova's, and that's voiceover. Hello, Christy Sproul. You're the first one on this evening. Good to see you. I know people are thinking about Thanksgiving and turkey and family and hopefully the crazy uncle and all that good stuff. Sean, how you doing, man? And I haven't forgotten your question. I have to look it up again. I may get back to you in private to answer that. I forgot about it until just now. Michael Roberts, what's going on? Nathan Noakes, Adela, what's going on? Well, let's see. What do I want to talk about here? Well, let's start with the Voice Arts Awards. And why would I want to talk about that? I won an award. Yay! No, very pleased, to have been nominated and definitely to have won an award. Now, I have said many times that I don't do audiobooks. I've done 3 and hope to never do a 4th. But there are always extenuating circumstances for why someone might do one. And I did a series of books for Learning Ally, March 1, 2, and 3. And I got to tell the story of John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, who was an integral part of the civil rights movement in the 60s. And I got to play him and Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy and all the famous figures that were involved at that time. And Learning Ally presented the book for nomination. It got nominated, and I won. And I really appreciate it. And one of the reasons I did it for Learning Ally, they are a nonprofit, and they help kids who have difficulty reading. Kids who might have dyslexia or some other reading problem. They help them learn how to read. And so far they have worked with about 475,000 kids, helping them improve their reading skills. And when your reading skills are up, the rest of your life can be so much better. So that's the reason I did it for them. I love the subject matter. I like what they do. And I did it for no money. So, nice. I'll get a trophy once I pay the fee for it. Anyway, it was a very proud night for me, very proud night for lots of others. And if you were there, what were your thoughts? Now, we can talk about that. We can talk about also that's voiceover, because I want to know if you were there. What did you learn? Who did you meet? What did you learn that, sometimes you are seeking to learn something in particular, and you go there with the idea, I'm going to learn A, B, C, but sometimes you get there and you learn something that wasn't even on your radar. Anybody have one of those moments? Anyway, let's see who else is here. Michael Glover, I saw you, my brother. Linda, how you doing? Thank you very much. Mukti, Thomas, what's going at Sova's? What is something that a newbie would do there, especially there's no association with a nominated production? What would a newbie do there? Well, just kind of be in the ether of the room and imagine how good it feels to win one of those awards and how much people have put in. This was the 6th. And I remember when Joan Baker and Rudy Gaskins started this, and there was a lot of brouhaha. There were a lot of people, who are you to start these awards, and you're only doing this for money, and so forth and so on. Of course, many of those voices have been silenced now, and many of them are now trying to get their work nominated. So what would a newbie do? Well, you would get a really good idea of who's working in this business, who's working at what kinds of levels, and just see voiceover people dressed up really nice. One of the things I love, too, is how supportive everybody in the voiceover business is. Several people that I know, friends of mine, were nominated in the same category. And beforehand, we had some conversations. Well, if I don't get it, I hope you get it. And I don't think there's a lot of rancor between us if someone wins, someone doesn't win. So I'm not sure what the best thing for a newbie is to be there, except kind of take in what that feels like. I think probably a newbie would do better at That's Voiceover, where you are learning things, and there are so many people there, so many panels with so much information. As a matter of fact, if you were there, what panel did you see that really meant something to you? And while you're doing that, hey, Jen Henry Gaines, what's going on? Demetrius, Michael Haskins, how you feeling, man? Hey, Dave, congratulations. Thank you for your advice. Also, you're very welcome. I met a lot of people at That's Voiceover. It started at 9, went to 9. So it was 12 hours of all voiceover all the time. My panel was at 7:15 or so, but I went early. I always like to go early. I get a chance to see friends of mine because we are all so hermetized in our little hobbit voiceover holes. So sometimes the only chance you get to run into your voiceover buddies is when you're at something like that. So I go early. I see friends of mine, have great conversations, and meet people who want to meet me, maybe want to ask me some questions, or just want to be in the presence of somebody who's doing what they do. It's amazing sometimes how just standing next to somebody who's doing the thing that you want to do, they're further down the road, the fact that they are there, physically there, can help you feel like, you know what? I can be there too. If this person can do it, I can do it. And you can. And you can. Let's see. What else have we got? Chris Michaels. Hey, Dave. Nice to meet you at the Sovas. Congrats on the win. Thank you, Chris. Felicitations. Thank you. Jean-Francois. Jen Henry. Hey, Ellen Dubbin. How are you? Andre Toyas. Speaking of Andre Toyas, how are you? She and I will be part of Get Your Game On, Los Angeles in February. And it's a whole weekend devoted to video games. And there'll be a number of us, so you'll get a chance to learn from Andre Toyas, who is one of the finest directors in the biz. She directs for Blizzard and casts for Blizzard. So you don't want to miss that. And excuse me 1 second. There'll be more information about that as the weeks go by. Thomas, I would think that if you're going to some of these larger VO conventions, that all the things to do all at the same time will be overwhelming. A newbie would tend to mentor to guide their path, need a mentor to guide their path for something like that. Perhaps you could supply a to-do list for your students. You know what? That's a very good comment. I talked about that a little bit last Wednesday, how to handle one of these things. One, get the program and find out what panels, what information is being shared, and choose the things that you are interested in. And definitely go to those, and then choose a couple things that maybe you don't know if you're interested in or not. Maybe you don't know enough about the business to know what it is they're talking about, and go sit in on that, especially if you paid your money and you can. Coming up in March, there's going to be VO Atlanta, which is a different animal, but a very good animal as well. VO Atlanta is 4 days. So there are more panels, more opportunities to take workshops, spend more time, and good place to go. And that's one where you would definitely want to get the program and check off the things you're interested in. Find out about setting up your website. Find out what it needs to have a good demo. How you get an agent. how you can find clients on your own, how to use LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and so forth to advance your voiceover career. All right. Antonio Diaz, great job, my man. Sincere congrats. Thank you, Antonio. Are you going to VO Atlanta? Oh, yeah. I'll be at VO Atlanta. I'll be doing some workshops. I'll be doing a couple workshops that maybe you might not think I'd be doing. One, I'll definitely be doing voiceover for video games. But I'm also going to do a workshop on getting rid of reedy reads. How can you learn to eliminate the reedy read and get that conversational sound that the world is looking for? So you won't want to miss that. Okay. Well, let's see. Don't have any other questions. Now, if this were one of those daytime shows or happy news shows, I'd be talking about who wore it best at the Sovas. And if I could share those pictures with you, we'd be looking at various women in their gowns, various guys in their tuxedos. But because it's voiceover, who cares? Who sounded best? And everybody sounded great. So there, we were all winners in that category. Veronica Dillard. Hey, Veronica was there and you were looking great. It was great seeing you again, Dave. Always appreciate sound advice you give. I'm working on upgrading my home equipment. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. There's so many choices out there for equipment, and it's cheaper now than it's ever been to do it, but you still don't want to make mistakes. I'm often surprised by the number of people who have been around for a little bit and still don't, what kind of microphone do I like? Well, the easiest way to get a good microphone is go with what most people are using. There's a reason most people are using Neumann's, particularly the 416, the U87, and the TLM 103. Now, the U87's pretty expensive microphone, but the TLM 103, you can find them used for about $750. I see a lot of people using the Rode NT1. There must be a reason. I don't have one. I don't use one. But a lot of people use it and swear by it. Blue has several microphones that people love, and there are a number of other microphones that are very good. Another reason to be in the voiceover community is you can ask your friends what works for them. You have a computer already, so what you need then is some kind of recording software. Pro Tools, fairly expensive, but if you've got a Mac, you can do Twisted Wave, which I do. I've got both, and I use the Twisted Wave 99% of the time. If you are not Mac person, what is it? The free one, you know what I'm talking about. Somebody will write it in. That has worked very well for people for years. Oh, what's the name of it? It's slipping my mind now. I don't use it myself, but a lot of people do and don't have many problems with it. At some point, you're going to want to get a good preamp or channel strip, and you can find them from a couple $100 into the several $1,000s. You probably don't need the most expensive one. I have a couple. I'm very fond of my Avalon, what is that, V37? And I'm also very fond, I have what is it? Oh yeah, the FX channel strip, which is a little combo of tube and circuit, and it has more dials on it than I'll ever use. I just use a little EQ and a little compression. Oh, thanks, John Warsham. Nice of you to say. Audacity. I knew somebody would come through for me. Audacity is a free software or recording program that you can use. And I've always avoided it because I've been a little nervous about, if something goes wrong, how do I fix it? But you can find the Facebook Audacity group, and I think there's some other Audacity groups, so there would be somebody to help you. Once again, That's one of the beautiful things about the world we live in now, is how connected we can be. In groups like an Audacity group, there's definitely a Twisted Wave group on Facebook. I know there's several Pro Tools groups and lots of voiceover groups in general. Getting your room right. The easiest thing probably is a closet with clothes. But if you're tired of trying to setting it up and breaking it down or bumping into your microphone and stand all the time, you can do things like set up a little recording area at your desk in a corner, so that the walls behind you are in a corner. So you got a wall here and a wall here, and you could put sound dampening cloth, rock wool, towels, several towels together, or curtains, especially theater curtains, so that the microphone's pointing at you this way, coming towards you, and you're pointing that way, and your voice gets eaten up by the sound deadening in the corners. Not very expensive and easy to do, and I know several people who do that. If you want to spend more money, you can treat the room yourself, or I got a little whisper room back here that I bought used. It's a 5x7, would have cost me about $10,000. Picked it up for the low price of $3,500. Actually, it was $3,000. It was in Chicago, so I had to have it shipped. That cost me another $1,400, but I got it for about half price. You don't always have to buy new. Michael Haskell got a refurbished TLM 103 for a little over $900. And he said refurbished. I find them all the time. Well, I have one that I bought for $700, and I see them often for right around that $700 figure. Thank you for bringing that up. Does the Chaotica work well? The Chaotica eyeball. I take the Chaotica eyeball with me every time I travel. It does work well, and it was not something I thought was going to work when I first got one, and a little easier for me to get one because they gave it to me. And I tried it a few times, not really paying attention to the instructions they gave me, and it didn't work as well as I thought it would until I looked at the instructions and went, I'm standing too close or too far away. And after that, it worked just great. But it's a foam ball. It's got a big round blue, or you probably can get it any color you want, mesh that's in a hole in that ball, and underneath your microphone goes in with the it pointed towards you, and it cuts out all the sound bounce. You still have to be in a quiet room, but it's going to cut out all the sound bounce, that echoey sound that everybody hates. It will eliminate that. And I used to have to travel with a whole other suitcase just for my equipment. Don't have to do that now. Pair that with an Apogee iPad mic, which of course will work on other than iPads. And now it fits in my suitcase. It's amazing. Now, I wouldn't want to use the Chaotica eyeball on an everyday basis for myself. But I imagine if you were just getting started, wouldn't be a bad way to go for a little bit until you can get your studio together. Or maybe if you're, I'm planning to do some remodeling around here, hopefully within the next year, and I'll have to break down my studio. And it'd be a good thing to set up a temporary studio in another room in my house while my studio is getting redone. Guess I didn't dig deep. Michael had, what was that? I guess I didn't dig deep enough. Oh, I can't find it. Well, what else is going on? It took me a while to get over this weekend. Was up late on Saturday night. You got a lot of friends in town. Up late on Saturday night. Up late on Sunday night, and after the awards, you're happy and you're wound up, and then had dinner for some of my voiceover friends, which is kind of a tradition after the Sovas. Joan and Rudy come by, and Sip and Ann came by. A few other folks came by, and we had gumbo and barbecue, and a lot of conversation. And it all sounded good because there were so many beautiful voices. Anyway, come on, we got to have some more questions here. Christmas is just around the corner, and you'll notice there are no Christmas lights or anything here. That'll be upstairs. But this is a really good time to talk to your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your mom, your dad, about the kinds of voiceover gifts you would like. Maybe you want your family to chip in on a new microphone. Maybe you want a whisper room or another kind of studio bricks. And it's kind of a lot of money. Maybe you can get your family and some friends to chip in to help you get that whisper room or studio bricks. Think about, instead of, just get me that tie, that dress, those socks, that thing that I really don't want. Not sure you should ask people to, fork over hundreds and hundreds, but maybe you got some family members that'll help you along the way. Just donate $50 to my booth fee. Vita, hi Dave. Would you actually use a Kata and USB setup for a session if you're traveling? Not only would I have quite often. Typically, I'm thinking, I'll take this to do auditions. A lot of times what I'm trying to do is travel on a Friday and be back on a Monday so I don't have to do gigs. But from time to time, I'm out of town longer than just a weekend. And I have used my Chaotica eyeball with my Apogee mic, using my iPad or my laptop, and done gigs, sent them in. Nobody was any the wiser. They sounded great. So, absolutely. The reason I wouldn't use my Chaotica eyeball on a more regular basis, I wouldn't suggest it as the thing to do for your home studio, is because it puts this big ball in front of you, and you got to find the copy someplace or be a little off center. So it can be a little bit uncomfortable. It was originally designed for singers, and you can imagine if you're singing and you have memorized the words, you can be right there and doing your thing, but we have to read paper. We have to read off a paper or a screen. So sometimes it's a little bit in the way. Do you take headphones with you to other studios? I don't. I try to avoid wearing headphones whenever I can. I think because I came out of radio. And when you're in radio, you put those headphones on and you're listening to your voice and you want to sound as good as you can sound. Yeah, baby, we're getting it on. And what I found for me is that when I put the headphones on, I was much more aware of my voice, and I had to break that habit of listening to my voice, and that taking the headphones off helped. Now, I've gotten to a point now, I don't really, listen the same way. I'm not trying to make my voice sound beautiful when I'm working anymore. But I've just found I like the sound of my voice just as my voice, not just filling up my head. We sound different when we're hearing ourselves naturally and when we have the headphones on, which is why sometimes when you start this and you start recording yourself and you listen back, it kind of sounds like me, but is that really me? Because you're used to hearing yourself in your head voice. We're used to hearing ourselves not just coming out of our mouths, but also in our heads. And it's different than what it sounds like when you record it. So you got to kind of get used to yourself. You put those headphones on and suddenly you're trying to make your voice sound beautiful. And what you really want to do is forget about your voice and talk to somebody. Because I'll tell you, the more beautiful your voice, the faster bad acting shows up. All right. When's another fundraiser, Backyard Jazz, at an enclosed location, maybe for Christmas? We only do the Backyard Jazz spring, summer, and fall. So We are done with the 2019 season. We'll be starting in May of 2020. And we have some great bands lined up, so I'll keep you posted. But you can go to backyardjazz.org. You can sign up, and we will send you information. We're going to be doing some highlights of some of the kids that we do this for, that money is donated for, what they're doing, where they're going to school, their stories of success. And you can also, if you want to donate some money, you can do it right there, and we'll take any amount. You want to give $10? We'll happy to take $10. You want to give me $10 a month? We'll be happy to take $10 a month. But love doing Backyard Jazz. It's a great time for a great cause, and we will keep you posted. Pat Brady, my agent. Love you, Pat. All right, Jean-Francois Donaldson. I had a non-union voice actor in Miami reach out to me about a few Miami companies he has worked for that dub animation to other languages. He was saying they only pay him $1 every other line. He said the most he made on a full feature film was $50. He's trying to get that rate. He's trying to get the rate to at least a decent rate. How would you go about making that happen? Asking for a friend. That's not you, is it, Jean-Francois? No, I know better than that. First of all, be careful how you go in. Be careful how you start. If he's been working for this company and that's what they've been paying, chances are they're going to be hard-pressed to pay him any more money. I imagine they feel like they can get somebody else to do it for that kind of money, and it's just a ridiculous fee. The company ought to be reported. I would tell him to ask for what he wants. Talk with some people who are doing this kind of work for bona fide companies that are paying regular wages for this, and ask for that. He's not going to get it. He'll have to move on to someplace else. Chances are all he'll be able to do is use this company as a learning experience so that when he is dubbing for another company, he knows better. And once again, a good reason we have unions. We need somebody to fight for us, especially when we're doing a job that, we love doing it. We would do it for free if money weren't a thing, but money's a thing, and you got wives and kids and husbands and school and diapers and all kinds of things to pay for. So I think he's going to have to leave that company. Speaking of dubbing in the Spanish market has been huge for a long time. And the best dubbers in the world are all Spanish speakers at this point. But this market is growing in the English-speaking market because as the world gets smaller, we are getting TV shows and movies from other countries, Italy, Spain, Germany, France, from all over the world, that are now being dubbed into English. Just like it used to be all of our shows in English were being dubbed into Spanish. It's now becoming a worldwide market, so be on the lookout if you are an English speaker for dubbing opportunities. It may not pay, it's going to pay better than this guy. It may not pay the best money in the world, but it can be steady work, and it's good work. So just a word to the wise. What's your opinion about the Beyerdynamic headphones? They're good, great headphones. Great headphones. The headphones I don't like, the very expensive one, the Dr. Dre's. I don't like headphones that are going for a particular kind of sound as opposed to accuracy. Some of the best headphones for voiceover or music are not the most expensive headphones. When I use headphones, I have a new pair of headphones, a company that I am doing some work for, Drown, which are just so natural and real. They're kind of expensive, but they are wonderful. And when I put on headphones right now, that's what I use. Drown headphones. They're not quite available, but they're going to be available shortly. I also like the Sennheiser, the inexpensive Sennheiser microphones or headphones, and the Biodynamic are also very good. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Nazia, how you doing? Natalia, how are you? When you're doing long-form narration, do you stand or sit? Do you record straight with takes, mistakes and all, and then edit afterwards, or do you punch and roll? I typically stand most of the time for most work, but if I'm doing really long-form narration, I may sit down. If I'm going to be in that studio page after page for a couple of hours, I'm going to drag a chair in there and sit down for a bit. And not just because, you get tired, but there's a different dynamic when you're reading something that you're narrating. You're telling a story, and you're slowing down and making sure that everybody understands where you're coming from. When I do that, a lot of times I will sit. Now, March 3, the book that I got the award for, I stood for. But it was a book with a lot of action. We're talking about marches and cops beating people and dogs chasing you, as well as other things. But I stood for that one. But a lot of long-form narration, usually for me it's corporate narration, I'll sit down for. Everything else, TV promos, commercials, definitely video games, I'm on my feet. All right, Jean-François, not me. I told him be prepared just to walk away. I had, years ago, a job I had to walk away from. I was doing the voice for Delta Airlines, their R&B shows. When you're traveling, you could, punch in their R&B shows. Well, a couple things happened. The music business has changed. And this was, in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s. And every month I would do a different show for them. It wasn't a bad piece of change. And one day, the producer calls up and says, "Oh, yeah, we want you to do the same thing. We love what you're doing, but we want to pay you half the money." And I went, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. And I could kind of see the writing on the wall. Technology was changing enough. Either people are going to bring their own music on their phones or in their computer and don't want to listen to something else that's packaged by somebody else. They want to listen to what they want to listen to. So I stepped away from that, and which is another reason I always tell people, always be looking for new business. I don't care how well you're doing, always be looking for new business. You can never tell when something's going to go away. Whatever job you have now, somebody had it before you, and somebody will have it after you. Never forget we're in show business, and, it's a kind of a what have you done for me lately business. Now, that's not the people who we associate with, our voice actor friends and whatnot, but the people we work for, yeah, sometimes that's it. They're not worried about your kids and, your bills and your mortgage and your car note. They're worried about, getting the job done that they want done. And if they or somebody else decides, we're tired of that voice, maybe it just goes away. So always be looking for something new. Keep your eye open, get your cards made that say who you are and what you do. And contrary to what I would have said 10 years ago, put your picture on it. It's hard for people, especially at a convention like I was at here with That's Voiceover and the Voice Arts Awards. People give you their card. If their picture isn't on it, after you've collected 50 or 60, you're not sure who's who. Hopefully they'll get back in touch with you and remind you, but you may not be sure just looking at the cards. And all the cards with people's pictures on them, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. Man, we had a great conversation. Da-da-da. On you go. So just a word to the wise. Let's see. Aaron, how you doing? Dustin Rubin, Bo Billingsley, one of the best that ever did it and got away with it. And Bo, people are always confusing us on some of the work you do and some of the work I do. But I'm just going to claim it was me. With your stuff, I'm just going to claim it was me. I hope you don't mind. Ashley Smart, how are you? Let's see if I missed anybody's questions. I don't think I did. And I am still recovering from this weekend. There was a lot going on. It was a great time. If you are somebody on now that I got a chance to talk to, and I know some of you are, it was a pleasure seeing you at That's Voiceover and the Voice Arts Awards. And I look forward to talking with you next Wednesday. As always, thanks, Bo. As always, if you like private lessons or find out where I'm going to be next, I have to get this stuff on there, but private lessons are where I'm going to be teaching next. Visit my website, sign up. I'll be sending little notes or videos to people with little tips and information. And if you want to click on the Study VO tab, you can book yourself for privates, and away we go. Good birthday gift or good Christmas gift to yourself. One other thing. I forgot about this. One of the things I was proudest of was at the Voice Arts Awards. So many of my students were nominated in every category for awards with voiceover. Some of them won, some of them didn't. And I know that they're also working with other voiceover coaches, as well they should. But it still made me proud that I could be a little part of their success. Because as a teacher, that is the thing that gives me the most joy. So anyway, all the best, and I will see you next Wednesday.